Good day everyone, I'm Matt, and today I wanted to explain how we're going to evaluate the various flights on this channel. This is going to be hopefully a very brief video, in which we will look at our evaluation system for air travel. Note that this is not for other kind of travel options, such as trains or ferries, yet rest assured that those will come on the channel too. Now, let's travel. First of all, this is the header, in which you will be able to find the main info on the flight, such as the route, the airline operating it, the aircraft, the seat class and the seat number. Pretty basic stuff, I would say. The first category is the departure location. Here we look at the connectivity of the airport with the general surroundings. Note that we can only evaluate the route we take, for obvious reason. The check-in route is to see how fast, relaxed and in general good is that part of the airport. Same thing with security, taking in account the safety factor and the vibe of the people working there. I'm already stressed when I enter the airport, so no need to yell at me. Thank you. Then we look at the comfort of the airport and its shops, from the duty-free to the restaurants and bars in there. At last, we hopefully board the plane and this is evaluated as well. Similar thing in reverse with the arrival destination. We look at the boarding process and the speed of it. Also, the speed exiting the airport and the controls. If we travel with checked-in luggage, we will also look at the baggage retrieval area and process, and in worst case scenario, also at the lost and found. Lastly, the connectivity of the arrival airport with the surrounding area. As we understand, for us the flight begins way before stepping on the plane and ends way later after stepping out of it. We want to evaluate the whole experience, so in case you will have to do that route, you will know what will await you. Let's talk about the airline. Airlines have, as far as I'm aware, airplanes, so we take a look at their fleet. In general, modern and good planes are good for the passengers and also for the environment. So that tends to bring points to the company. We also take a look at their network on a general overview. This does not mean the bigger the better, it's more towards looking at how fitting it is to the airline's vision and mission. Branding and vibe is more like, is the airline respecting the brand? And if we like the vibe we are getting. Ease of booking and fees is an outlook on the booking process and how the experience is, good or bad. Customer support at last is in case we do need to call them. An analysis if they are able to help us. From this section onwards, we are talking about the specific flight. In the convenience part, we analyze as the first criteria the route. Now, in general, direct routes are convenient on short routes, while connections are better on long haul, at least if you are poor like we are and cannot afford business class. We also look at the cost, comparing it with the product, both hard and soft, and the flight distance. We also look at the times of takeoff and arrival, if those are convenient. Same things for the convenience of the airport towards our destination. It may happen, as it did with our Manchester trip, that our destination is very far from the airport, therefore lowering the score. Last but not least, we look at the connectivity in terms of capacity from the airline to operate that route in terms of weekly legs. When it comes to the seat, we look at first at the general placement. If the outside is covered by the wing, or it is very noisy, or in a too crowded area, it lowers the score. We then look at the size of the seat, that is pitch and width. Comfort and recline is pretty straightforward, as is armrest and footrest. We then look at seat storage, that also takes into account the possibility to use the tray table as an object holder. Moving on to catering, we look at the cost and at the quality in the first three subcategories. We also take into consideration the selection range and the quality of the menu. By the way, I do prefer to have a menu that is not broken, as you may have seen in the last trip report, as well. It's kind of a basic thing. Entertainment, oh gosh, that's a hard one. At first, we look at the quality of the IFE. In this specific instance, I'm not talking about the seatback screen, I'm talking about the entertainment in general. You will see in a couple of videos what I mean. We then analyze the quality and range of the selection in movies, music, maps and games. If there is Wi-Fi on board, that's a big plus, taking obviously in consideration the price of it. Last but not least, reading material, aka magazines, looking at the quality and availability of those. In the cabin section, we look first at the general quality, cleanliness and relax. When I step on board, I do not want to see a dirty plane, as you've seen in episode 1, or a cabin ambience that makes me scene, as you've seen in episode 2 of the Trip Report series. We then look at the density, and this is very hard to define, yet denser the worst. We have two subcategories for the loo. The first is size, and the second is concerning the amenities inside the bathroom. Lastly, we take a general overview of the storage options for the passenger inside the cabin. In the service section, we look at the service provided in forms of various elements. First of all, if the airline provides amenity kits and bedding materials, such as pillow and blankets. We then look at the service speed. That is important, but not as much as the following two categories. Service, as we see it, should be precise and proficient, and that's pretty straightforward. It should also be caring towards our needs, with kindness and in general a good treatment. Last but certainly not least, we should feel safe while traveling, as that's the most important element of air travel. So, after giving points to each category, from 1 to 10, and with none available if the element is, well, not available or not judgeable, we then calculate the relative score. For example, if the points are 50, while the maximum potential was 100, the final score will be 0.5. That becomes a score of 5 over 10. In the tab, you can see that the score is bottom heavy, with the average between 6.5 to 6, with the former included. We then also have a sub-score for each category that enables us to define which elements should the airline aim at improving for making the flight better. Now, let me give an example. This is the trip report from the last flight from Manchester to Malpensa. As you can see, Manchester is a terrible airport, at least in our experience, as we lived it last time. Malpensa is a better airport if the ground element that manages luggage was not so prone in breaking stuff. By the way, just as a note, it is not the first time that our luggage gets broken in that airport, yet that's where I'm based, so I don't know if I have many options. The network of Ryanair is fantastic, and while I'm more of an Airbus fan, the 737-800 and MAX are still a very good option, even if the latter was, well, we all know what happened to the MAX. Inside the plane, the seat storage is absent. This is to cut costs on cleaning, yet a very terrible option for passengers. When it comes to catering, there are a lot of options, yet the menu was completely broken up, so very low points on that. There was no in-flight entertainment, and I guess that we will not see that soon on Ryanair. The cabin was slightly dirty, not a massive downside, yet the colors and ambience made me more sick than I already was. In general, the flight was convenient, while the entertainment was terrible. Final score is 0.515, that multiplied by 10 delivers a below average evaluation. Not the best, yet at the same time better than EasyJet previous experience. I hope that you have enjoyed this somewhat quick overlook at how we calculate scores. If you do have any question, feel free to do so in the comments and tell us if you do have a system to score flights. We're very curious. Our next video will be interesting, I should say. Yet for now, enjoy your travel.